Hello, this came to me as I'm bebopping through my day, exhausted as all get out. But anyways, besides the point, yeah, I was thinking about who knows what, and it just came to me that, like with my past, I had a really good, first 8 months of my life, and then things got a little haywire. But yeah, one thing after led to another, and on and off for those first 7 to 8 years, I was ripped out of my mother's or my father's arms as a little girl. Until finally, Margaret, my aunt, worked with, yeah, the legal system of DuPage County, yes, and the Department of Child and Family Services to steal me away from my mother. Because even like using henna back as a little girl was dirty, not beautiful, and ugly, and a bunch of other things she said to me to shame me. But, anyways, the point is, if people are able to abduct you out of your true biological home that you're happily living in, away from your mother, like it happened to me, I'm talking about my experience. Did I mention that name? STB. Okay, I'm talking about my experience, yes. And if they were able to rip me out of the arms of my father, like literally I left, yeah, cat scratches on his arms because I wanted to be in his arms that desperately, being held by him appropriately as a father to a daughter. But no, the Department of Child and Family Services and Margaret's had to rip me out of their arms. Yeah. The memory doesn't torture me. Doesn't even bother me. But that form of domestic terrorism, separating biological families just because you can't have children or because you don't want to reinvent yourself or you can't reinvent yourself or whatever the fuck is going on, that's evil. And that's a domestic terrorism. And to do that to someone, yeah, the little people, they get left dealing with those that did it in the first place. So they get constantly terrorized by people like Margaret. People in the Department of Child and Family Services. I've been terrorized by them for 50 to 51 years. Because it just didn't happen when I was like 4 or when I was 7 or when I was 8. They take a long time to do this shit. So now I'm going to give testimony. Yes. I had Shane leave November 1st, 2018, because an emergency room doctor told me that he was committing domestic violence by leaving bruises on my body, and he thought that he was repeat offending with Elizabeth and the other children in the home. So he said to get him out of the home as soon as possible and change the locks. Well, it took me a little while, but yes, I did have him leave the home. Because I was not going to put up with domestic violence. And since then, you guys haven't shown me anything else but domestic violence still. Separating me from my mother and my father's when I was a little girl. Yeah. And then standing behind Shane, who separated me from my offspring. So the point is, I heard out of his own mouth, yes, and out of Beth Higgins's mouth, yes. That same day I had him leave, she came by and threatened me to take my children away. And I heard through the wire, fifth dimension, over and over again, full of ESP, which means extrasensory perception, yeah, that our lives were in danger and that they were going to be kidnapped. And yes, I did tell our physical care providers, like our doctors. And trust me, we saw plenty in the last 4 years before they were abducted out of the home. They all heard our perspective. So did our real therapists, not the ones that leave bruises on your body. Or trying to manipulate you and your children to have therapy with them when you didn't want to have therapy with them. You wanted a new therapist. And you finally had to call up and like beg another person to give you a better therapist, and they finally did, but then they wanted to sabotage it because it was all going so nice, and they couldn't get in on it. Whatever Amelia Baron wanted to get in on. I have no goddamn idea, but I didn't want her to get in on me. No way. So anyways, that being said, all those people with all these little cases and big cases, yeah, of these people since the 1960s, these children being ripped out of their biological home that they're happy in, like I was, yeah, those people that like were all a part of it, whether they were the relative or a Department of Child and Family Services or a judge or whatever else, they're the ones that still come and torture you. I'm sure of it. Like they torture me. Soft and hard dimensions, day in, day out, day in, day out. Until they can finally convince you of their way. And it's not going to happen with me because I'm all about like straight up truth as much as I can understand it. And light. And divinity. And music. Okay? So just, grow up. Leave the little people alone. Let them just like grow up and develop and decide what they want to fucking do. And don't so goddamn influence them and manipulate them and control them. Because you know what? God above all gods is keeping an eye on us. And so is Saturn today. Because it is Saturday. And Saturn has two eyes. One on top of the planet and one on the bottom of the planet. Okay? Just like God Almighty has two eyes looking down at us. And yeah, he could take your breath away. Not from me. Him. He takes away my breath a lot. And I like it. So peace out. Take care. Behave yourself. That's from Ron and Ronald Harold Henry Chapman. Not my father, Howard. Or Howie. Peace.